The CEO said no other vendor has even thought about this. Every vendor has come to me and you know what they've said? And I said, what? They just want to buy out your 6 locations. They don't care about my goals for next year. They don't care about making my employees' lives easier. They don't care about aligning themselves with, our pains and our goals. And he said, you really hit the nail on something here.
You are listening to The Deal Breakdown with Derek Chevy, where we spotlight the best deals out there in B2B sales, from the open all the way to the close.
Welcome to the B2B Deal Breakdown podcast, where we give you the play-by-play on some of the best deals out there. I'm Derek Chevy, and I'm excited to be meeting with Emily Andrews. She's a major account executive in the technology industry. Welcome, Emily.
Hi, Derek. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to chat, for a few minutes. And I listened to last week's episode and was super pumped. So I'm excited to get on board.
Oh, man, this is a treat for all these B2B salespeople that are going to be listening in because they don't know you like I do. And you're a top rep in your industry, and it's going to be really exciting to hear about your deal. So great. Could you tell the listeners a little bit about your background?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in B2B sales for 5 years now. I came right out of the retail management space, so I came with virtually no direct sales experience, but always was pretty intrigued by just the idea of sales. I wanted to be able to be in a position where I could control my own income and move my life forward, and so I set out to kind of conquer the world of sales, and 5 years later, I've worked my way up through my current organization and now handle some of our biggest customers.
That's awesome. So what company are you with now?
So I work for Xerox. And so, we're obviously in the technology arena. We, provide anything from obviously Xerox equipment, which everyone kind of knows. But more than that, it's really about creating a customized solution that helps when it comes to operational bottlenecks. So whether that be software, that be managed services, that be cybersecurity initiatives, we're really a one-stop shop to all of your technology needs, and I love it.
That's great. Yeah, I know you've been doing so well at it. So with Xerox and how they, we're talking about office technology as well as all the software solutions that you just mentioned. Are there big challenges right now that Xerox is solving for companies that you're focused on?
Yeah, so obviously during the current state, remote workspaces. So basically being able to shift the document process from in-house to now, in someone's home. How are CTOs approaching that? How are they able to still maintain a level of security and a level of ease of use without being face-to-face with the end users? So that's definitely challenge number one. Challenge number two, I would say, would definitely be cybersecurity. A couple weeks ago, there's been some stuff in the news where there have been malware attacks in regards to people intervening through copiers, through printers, through servers. So Xerox has really developed a lot of great initiatives to prevent that. And I would say from a CFO level, that's pretty huge right now as well. Wow,
this is great. Just how casually you're talking about this, it sounds like you're a pro and you've been doing this every single day. So this is awesome. So about this particular deal, how did you choose this one? Because I imagine that you've sold a lot.
Yeah, so this deal, it stands out for a couple of reasons. Firstly, just the revenue size. I was able to achieve my whole year's quota in one transaction, which is pretty incredible. Secondly, it was a really long sales cycle. So, it took 9 whole months from start to close. And in my industry, that's pretty long. We try to stick to a 30 to 60 day cycle if we can, depending on the need, the size of the transaction, et cetera. But really, when you think about mental toughness and perseverance, this is the deal that just stands out to me. And thirdly, just being able to really align myself as a strategic partner, separate myself from the competition of about 4 other sales reps and stand out to ultimately take it to the finish line.
Wow. So let me just make sure I heard this correctly. This deal is worth 1 year budget?
Yep.
Wow. Is this the biggest deal you've ever closed?
Yes.
Yeah.
But not for long, but yes.
Of course not, right? But wow. I mean, for all the B2B salespeople listening in, I mean, I know anybody that the fact, if you have a chance to close that whale of a deal, 1 full year budget, I mean, there's a lot of things that you got to do right. I'm sure there's a lot of challenges that happen along the way. So I'm excited to hear this one. So how did you first find this company that you were targeting?
Yeah, so it was actually a current customer. However, when I was given the list of my new accounts with my new assignment, this name was kind of crossed out at the bottom of the list, which was a little bit odd. And I asked my boss, hey, so are you giving me this account? Are you not? What's going on here? And he said, oh, we lost that customer. They're going to bid with 5 vendors. We were not invited. Don't waste your time. Sorry about that. I said, I mean, if anyone knows me, Derek does. I don't like hearing no for an answer, and I love a challenge. So I said, okay, I can understand that, but do you mind if I at least give them a call? He kind of looked at me like I was crazy. Sure, go ahead, Emily, give him a call. Let me know if you get through. And he went on about his day. So I called for like 3 weeks. I called like 10 different people in the organization. They probably thought I was nuts. And just got straight to voicemail. It was like cold calling all over again. I mean, the straight to voicemail, I'm zeroing out. I'm trying to find someone else that will just talk to me. And by then I said, I've had it. Their office is 30 minutes from mine. I'm just driving out there. Like, this is just enough. And so I sat in the lobby for, probably like 2 hours. The poor receptionist just kept trying to make small talk. She was very nice. And we actually joke about this now, but I just sat there and I waited, and finally an IT person, not on purpose, but mistakenly came through the lobby. And I think she felt so badly for me because I've been sitting there that she kind of waved him down and said, hey, this is Emily. She's your Xerox rep. She's been waiting here. Can you just talk to her? Like, come on. And he gave me about 2 minutes. And I said, I know you don't know me. I just got your account, but I really, really need 15 minutes of your time to at least be given the opportunity to be rejected by you when it comes to the bid process. Give me 15 minutes. And if you still don't want anything to do with us, I respect that. I think he was a little stunned, because I was just kind of laying it all on the table. And he said, come here next Wednesday. You have 30 minutes and we'll talk. So I left, and I'm like excited, but like really nervous as well. Like, wasn't expecting him to agree. And that's kind of how we got into the first steps of the deal.
Wow. Okay. So there's so much that you said right there. There's so many lessons too for the B2B salespeople listening in. The first one I just wanted to highlight is that sometimes we take over accounts that other people in our company had, and they think that they know what's going to happen with this customer. Like, they'll say there's no chance, or we gave up because they told us to take a hike, and you should give up too. And I think that it's first of all, it's important to realize that not every salesperson, even your manager that knows accounts that you take over, not all of them, they're not you. And your personality and the way that you are could be something that turns that opportunity into something that could be great for you. And maybe this didn't work well with the previous people before. And so I love how you looked at it as a challenge and said, I don't care if they said this is a good use of my time. You can see, based upon probably the size of the account that it was, that it was worth you spending 3 weeks calling, and it was worth you waiting in the lobby for 2 hours. But you could see that, and you knew, and you had the confidence to know that there's something that you could do. That's the first thing I wanted to point out, because so often we hear someone else saying, don't waste your time on this account. And we just say, sure, they know better. But if you look at it and it's a good opportunity for you, and you know it from the size, then you have to look at it and say, well, how much of your time can you dedicate it to give it a good chance? The second thing was all the rejection or the no response you're getting over the phone. You kept going after it, and you still in your mind knew there was opportunity, and so you went out there in person. And I think that that's a big thing too, and just how you wanted to be straight up with them to try to get that appointment. I think it shows a lot about your character, Emily, and it also shows the rest of everyone here that this is what it takes to be a top performer. You need to think about what is this time? What is my time worth for this account, for these accounts that everyone's saying, don't waste your time. And of course, this one ends up being a win, but you need to know that within yourself and be determined to go after it. So I love the story so far. So that was the first prospecting touch. I like what you said. You said what you said. So then let's fast forward to that meeting. That was 30 minutes the next week. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so the next meeting actually was only 30 minutes. They had like a timer, I kid you not. They were not going to give me 1 minute extra, from this kind of pity meeting, if you want to call it that. And really what I made sure to do, I brought my boss, as support. He knew them longer than I had. I thought it would be great to have a familiar face. I really just asked questions. I mean, we didn't really do the small talk, like, they didn't really care where I went to college. They don't really care like what my dog's name is. They're giving me 30 minutes to prove myself.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like fight or flight. So I started with the hard questions, like the questions that I think a lot of reps are scared to ask. And in my earlier years, I probably was as well. The first thing I said was, why are we not invited to the bid? There's got to be things about our service or our product or your experience with us that you won't even let us have a seat at the table. Because really that's pretty rare. Usually as a current vendor, you're at least given the opportunity to save the business. And we at that point were not extended that invitation, and they said, wow, you want to just get right into it? And I said, I only got 30 minutes. Yeah. I mean, what do I got to do to earn my chance? And they said, it's a few things. Firstly, you're way too expensive. We spend X with you for X amount of locations, and we spend Y with them on 3 times as many locations. There's a pretty big delta here. And I said, okay, that's fair enough. So number 1, too expensive. Okay, let's get a little deeper. Number 2, if price was not an option, what else is holding you back from giving us that opportunity? And they said, our biggest goals right now are expansion. We are acquiring locations every year. At this point, when I was managing them, they had about 30 locations. Within 1 year, they had 180 locations.
Wow.
So they were blowing up like crazy. And that for me, that's great to hear. I'm thinking, okay, awesome. Their point was that you only have 6 of our locations. This vendor has 46. It's going to be a lot easier to get rid of you than it is to get rid of someone that has 7 times what you have. And they said, it's really not about the service. It's not about the product. We love our service with you. We love our product. But logistically, we don't view you as a vendor that can grow with us. And I kind of pondered, took it in, took a breath, and I said, okay, so let me confirm. If I can give you a solution that is going to prove that I can expand with you, I can also keep in mind security and other, requirements for financial institutions because they're in the financial market. Will I get a shot? And they said, sure, you can give us that in 1 week. You can come to the bid. You can come to the bidding table. I said, okay. And we ended our meeting, and I walked out of there probably the most nervous I've ever been in my entire life, because I'm thinking, can we do this? I kind of just went out on a whim and said, I'm going to come up with this strategy for you, and I have 5 days to do it.
Yeah.
And I remember my boss looked at me in the elevator, and he was like, I always knew that you were good, but I didn't know how good, because I haven't been on a meeting with you in a long time. And I said, it's all about just asking the questions, right? If I hadn't asked that question, my 30 minutes when I come up and we'd be talking about, paper sizes and click charges and things that were so minute that didn't get to the root of what the real obstacle was.
Yeah.
And so from there, we really went to the drawing board from that meeting.
Yeah. So let's pause here on this meeting. So was there any strategy like a pre-meeting that you did with your manager to say, how are we going to run this 30 minutes and what are we going to share? What are we going to present? What are we going to ask? Did you guys have a strategy meeting before?
Yeah. So one thing I've been really lucky is to have really amazing mentors and managers within my sales career. And so we role played this meeting probably like 50 times. And I kid you not. Like, we would sit in the conference room, he would order us dinner, we would go through every scenario. I would be me, he would be the customer. He would give me just like crazy objections that I'm like, I don't think they would ever say that, but he's like, they might. So I walked into there really knowing that I could kind of handle anything they were going to throw at me. And I think that's a really powerful thing for salespeople is preparation is so, so key. Like, it's never corny to sit there and role play with someone. It's never a wasted effort. So that definitely, I think, helped give me the confidence to kind of make it through that 30 minutes.
Absolutely. I'm a huge proponent of role play. So okay, this is great. So let's keep this going. So that was the first appointment. They're giving you the chance. They're giving you 5 days to bring this information back. So this information, are they asking for a proposal?
So asking for just like a roadmap, I guess. So it wasn't really like come with a price. It was kind of like come with a plan, because this is our concern. How can you meet that concern? And what gives you the credibility to be compared against these vendors that have so much more at stake? And so, we worked really diligently, long nights, like we all have to do. And we're able to come up with a really unique and awesome solution for them, which is really what perpetuated the sales cycle from there. Was keeping in mind the main goals really were expansion and security. We developed an idea where we would do phases. So we broke it up into 4 phases. Every time that we did an upgrade or we did an acquisition, we went through every single location, all 180. We determined the employee size of the office. We determined the volumes, and we basically assigned 1 of 2 models to each location throughout the entire fleet. So we decided 2 models. We did a set price. We did a set service plan. We included free security software that incorporated the badges they use to get into their office to the printer. So now there was no worry about sensitive information being left on a copier or left from a fax. Everything was now going to be completely secure on the same platform and really standardized throughout. So at first people might say, okay, that doesn't really sound that cool. I mean, you gave them 2 models to choose from. But what's important to understand is by digging into that pain that they had, their procurement process was like 25 steps. A new location would open. They'd call their rep. The rep would look at the location. They'd pick 1 of 25 models. They'd pick a model. They would then have to negotiate the price. They would negotiate the lease term. It was very tedious. This eliminated all that. This brought it to, hey, location A is opening. I send them the paperwork with the model, with the price, with the service, with the software, and we're done.
Nice. You thought through the whole thing. So from that standpoint, then you had your next meeting that was 5 days later, and you presented this concept, first concept, because I know you mentioned earlier this is a 9-month process, so I know it took some time from start to finish here. But so what was that meeting like? How did that next step go?
So it went great. It actually was about an 1.5-hour meeting. I had my slide deck. I had my whole roadmap by location, by geography, really detailed. I kind of came to them and said, this is what we're going to do. I didn't have to ask as many questions because I had gathered all of the information to be able to present my professional recommendation. And I kid you not, they were so pumped. I was taken aback a little bit. I didn't think they would really even think it was that cool. I kind of thought, yeah, the other vendors have already been doing this. And when they saw really the breakdown of every step, I mapped it out, step 1 through 20, now step 1 through 3, how much easier IT was going to have it, finance was going to have it, accounts payable was going to have it, vendor management was going to have it. They were going to get all this time back on top of great technology, and the best security on the market. And all these employees now are going to have hours and hours and hours of time on their hands because they're no longer going to be in this bidding war that they've been doing for the last couple of years. And, when I stopped for feedback, it was really interesting because the CEO said no other vendor has even thought about this. Every vendor has come to me and you know what they've said? And I said, what? They just want to buy out your 6 locations. They don't care about my goals for next year. They don't care about making my employees' lives easier. They don't care about aligning themselves with, our pains and our goals. And he said, you really like hit the nail on something here. And I'm really impressed by what you've done. And, the meeting concluded and we were basically officially awarded a bid position, which was my end goal from the beginning. And from there, the bid process took like 6 months. They interviewed each vendor in more detail. They kind of went to them and said, hey, why haven't you thought about this? Why are you only focused on the deal right away instead of the big picture, which I was looking at this as like a 5-year project. I wasn't looking at it as getting 6 locations for my monthly quota. I was really looking at this from like a really large lens. And so it put us in a really great position going into that next long phase of the sales cycle for sure.
Yeah, so that awesome. The fact that the CEO said those things to you on it, I mean, that must have been a huge confidence boost for you, that your strategy and your thought process was in alignment with the company, and you were really thinking about how you could help them grow. And that's fantastic. So during this bid process, were there any other key steps that you did, like demos or other assessments or other things like that were part of it that you did?
Yeah, so we did a demo. I always recommend, depending on what industry you're in, if you can do any sort of proof of concept, it goes so far, especially when building value and trying to take the conversation away from the dollar sign. We demoed a full live kind of proof of concept of the badging in. We made a badge with employee X's information and credentials and really kind of brought to life how secure this environment was going to be. A big concern for financial institutions is fines. If for some reason someone were to get wind of information being compromised or anything of that sort, there's a lot of legal ramifications that come with that as well. And they were just amazed. I mean, to be able to print something from your computer, access any copier or MFP in the building, use your badge, and have your documents come right out, it was mind blowing. I mean, it gave them a bird's eye view as well over just trends and volumes in their environment, which leads to, potential ROI and just more savings on top of that. So that was definitely a really powerful moment. Another thing, no other vendor was thinking that way. Every other vendor said, hey, we could sell you something else that's really, really expensive. It won't have card readers. You'll have to put a code in. Each person has their own code. Just adding to kind of the processes that they were trying to condense, adding more steps. So that was definitely a really big win for us as well.
That's great. That's great. So then did you present proposal first and then do those demos later, or the demos first and the proposal?
I did all of this build up before I ever talked to them about numbers.
Great. So awesome. So tell us about the proposal, how you built value in the proposal. And what were some of the key things that you did there?
So after the demo, it took about 6 months of them meeting with every other vendor. There was 5 of us, so kind of jarring. And your odds are 1 out of 5. It's definitely a little bit intimidating when you're dealing with something of this size that you know how much value this deal would do for you. But I came into the proposal kind of the same temperament. I mean, I'm very honest and I'm very transparent. And I think what ended up really putting me towards the front was that I didn't only sell the solution I was selling, but I sold like the experience with me. I sold the experience you're going to get with a seasoned professional that is able to look at these business challenges and not give you a blanket proposal with 5 machines on it. I'm the kind of person that's going to go above and beyond. I'm going to see the big picture. I'm going to make sure that I'm doing my part, not to just sell you copying equipment, but to impact your business in a positive way that, helps you reach the goals that you've set. And for some people, salespeople, not so much. It kind of is awkward, I think, to talk about yourself sometimes. It's so easy to just product, savings, or whatever is the main bulk of whatever you're trying to sell. but I really made sure to personalize it at that point. You know, they'd gotten to know me, they trusted me, they saw how much work I put in, way more work than anyone else that was at the table. And I said that. That's the person that I am. You know, I've been here for 5 years. I have outstanding business relationships, and it's because this is the way that I do business. And by going with us, this is what you're gaining as well. And to me, that holds a lot of value. And I kind of validated that with them. And they did say, we're getting so much more from this proposal than we are from the other 4. And to be quite honest, when we got to the pricing, I was nervous because I knew it was more expensive than the other ones. But they looked at it and they kind of agreed that it was they were getting so much for what they were paying that it didn't really become about comparison anymore. You know, if we go back to the first meeting, they kept telling me, you're too expensive, you're too expensive, you're too expensive. And at this point, they were like, you're expensive, but it's worth it. And so I walked out of the proposal really feeling good, really feeling like, you know, we were going to get it. And then, you know, 3 more months go by. So.
So, yeah, that's what I was going to ask. So, so 3 more months went by, and obviously you're thinking the deal was going to come in, but was there a reason why it was delayed? I mean, did you eventually get the deal by creating urgency somehow? Like, how did they go through, you know, go over the edge?
So it was delayed for really one main reason. Granted that they'd grown so much, they now had so many different departments that literally had to review this contract. So before, it was just the CFO could sign it. If he liked it, he liked the terms. Now it was procurement and vendor management, finance, accounting, IT. There were just so many hands it had to go through. And they were pretty responsive with me. You know, I would check in. I had asked them, you know, is there anything that we can do to kind of sweeten the deal to move this along? And they kind of said, no, no, there's not. It just takes time. But I think what I really want to drive home was that in those 3 months, it was so stressful. Like thinking you had something and being so confident and then really being tested. Because it's easy to think, oh, they're just blowing me off. They're saying it's with legal, but it's not really with legal. It might still be at step 1, or it's just out, but they feel bad because they do actually like me. And so I started getting a lot of heat from management and, you know, sales executives asking, where is it?
Where is this
Did
deal?
you lose it? There's no way you're getting it. It's not happening. To the point where I then started to kind of question myself, which is not like me. And I had to do a lot of like just kind of self-reflection, knowing like I did the best that I could. I know I gave them the best solution, and I have to just kind of have faith, you know? And the second I started to kind of change my mindset, I got a really great text message at 11 o'clock at night on the last day of the month. So
Wow.
yeah.
And that was we're moving forward with you right now. Like the deal's coming in, you'll have it.
That was the check your email.
Oh,
We have the contract.
nice. Great. So were you able to count it for the month?
Well, no, but it counted for the quarter, which was kind of what we had anticipated. You know, in our business, when you're doing, you know, we went from 6 locations to 44. So we really expanded our footprint in that one transaction. And then logistically getting everything installed takes a good week or 2, but it was like I just felt so validated in that moment. You know, I'd felt kind of like the underdog from the beginning, from being told by my boss, it's a no. And then to get those contracts and see like, hey, I just hit my year. I'm at 250% of my plan now. I'm going to go to President's Club. You know, all these just proud feelings started to rush through me. And I just was so happy that I didn't like give up. Like I didn't not go to that office. I did not make the phone calls. And it was probably to this day, like one of the proudest moments I've had. And it, you know, spearheads my motivation moving forward for sure.
Yeah, it shows you what you're capable of, Emily. It really does. And I never doubted you for a second from the beginning, though, by the way. So, no, but
I know.
That's awesome. It's so great. And so you already talked about how you separate yourself from the competition. I don't know if you thought about like key things that you said so much, but would you say that there's, like, if we were to ask the customer literally and said, why did you go with Emily? What would they say?
So I've actually asked them this now because I have an amazing relationship with them. It comes down to one key mantra, and I feel like maybe you've said this before, but it's about not being a salesperson. It's about being a partner. And there's so many salespeople that get so wrapped up in the immediate deal and kind of the revenue frenzy that they don't take the time to listen. You know, I've developed such a trusting relationship with this customer that every month since this deal, I've received revenue. Every month there's a deal, not of this magnitude, but every month my strategy that I implemented is being executed over and over like clockwork. And I think it's just really important to take the time to understand what the real pain is instead of just looking at it as a quick flip or a quick sale. I think a lot of times people jump the gun a little bit. And, you know, that's what they had shared with me, was that I really made sure that it was about them. It wasn't really about me. It was about your business. It was about making sure that I'm going to put my roots in this account and really be able to grow with it. And they always joke, we weren't looking for a copier salesperson. You know, we could go buy a copier at Staples if we really, really wanted to. But we were looking for someone that cares about our business and cares about us and cares about, you know, being there at the top of the finish line when we get there. So I think that's definitely a really big takeaway.
That's a huge takeaway. That's huge. You know, I'm thinking about the next question here, but you've already mentioned it so many times. But if you could choose 3 critical moments in this specific deal, what would you say that they were that won it for you?
Most critical, I think, out of all of them was the beginning, being told, hey, you don't have this account, you know, because that's kind of where you have to determine your strength as a salesperson. You know, sometimes we're really scared of rejection. It's natural. I don't think anyone enjoys it. But if I would have just said, okay, I'm going to back off, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So that is like the most important part. And then, you know, just being able to go and ask those questions and ask the hard questions and kind of surprise myself that I had, you know, the wisdom to do that and not be scared and not hold back was really important in my career. It just gave me so many skills that I've used in so many other meetings and deals now in the, you know, in the future, that was really awesome. And then of course getting the deal. I mean, it's like everyone loves the win. That's why we do what we do. And there's nothing better than finally getting that signature on that paper and saying, okay, I did it.
That's right. Yeah, this is a really exciting deal just to hear about start to finish. Now, what about looking back, 3 things that you would do differently next time, like mistakes that you made?
Well, I think number one, I mean, I think I told you I called for 2 weeks. And it might not seem like a long time, but I think that if I would have gone in person quicker, I would have bought myself a little bit more time, right? I would not have only had 5 days to come back with a strategy. I would have had maybe a week or 2. And I think part of that maybe was fear. Even though I was kind of like, I'm calling, see, I'm doing it, there was a part of me that was scared to show up, because I figured if I show up and they kick me out, I'm never going to be allowed in here again. And I've definitely lost the deal. So maybe I've been a little bit more aggressive and determined from the beginning when it came to time frame. You know, and then I think also getting kind of fixated on the price. I think that's also something we're all victim of, is that when you first hear the initial objection of you're too expensive, everyone's heart kind of sinks a little bit. I mean, mine did. I was thinking if it's just about money, then I've got no stake in the game. And even when I found out what the true pain was, it was always in the back of my mind, which I think that I should have been able to control a little bit better, because mindset is everything. And if you have that little birdie telling you, well, you're still too expensive, it can just impact, I would say, your mindset. And I think mindset is so huge when it comes to winning. So that would probably be number 2. And then, you know, number 3, maybe trying to follow up in that 3-month span of, you know, each department, asking to maybe speak to people in those departments to see if I could provide some clarity, you know, just to kind of shorten that time frame as well. But I think that, you know, every situation is a learning experience. And I think out of the pros and cons, I did way more pros, but I'm very introspective. And there were definitely things just from like a mental standpoint that I think I could have just done a little differently, maybe for my own sake, maybe not so much for the deal, but for my own, my own sanity.
Yeah, well, I bet you learned so much from that deal that you'll do it differently next time in those situations. There's been so much wisdom that you've been sharing throughout all this, but are there any final words of wisdom you want to tell all the audience, the B2B salespeople out there that are looking to try to get their big win like you did here to help them bring more value in their deals?
Yeah, the main thing, it's perseverance and it's self-confidence. Don't be afraid to be the underdog. Like, I feel like I've been an underdog for a lot of my career leading up to that point, and I always knew that I was talented. I knew that I would do the work. I knew that I could perform and provide a solution that no one else could. So just stay strong, don't let the people get into your head and convince you of otherwise. There's a deal like this for everyone. They're out there. So just stay true to you and keep on the grind.
This is awesome. What a great statement there, Emily. Thanks so much. I'd also like to ask if any people out there want to reach out to you further in the future to ask you questions or just maybe bounce ideas off you in general. What's the best way?
Yeah, you can definitely find me on LinkedIn. If you search, Emily Andrews in Xerox, I should be the only one that pops up. And I'd love to connect and learn from you guys too. That's the beauty about sales is we're never too good or too seasoned to stop learning. And I look forward to continuing to connect.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emily, for sharing your deal today.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Derek.
Well, that's it for today's session, everybody. Thank you so much, Emily, again, for helping all of our fellow B2B salespeople out there improve their sales skills. For our listeners, if you'd like today's highlights, be sure to check out our summary on modernSalesTraining.com. Have a great week, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Hey, if you enjoyed listening to this podcast, then you have to come check out our free Top Performer Academy course. Inside it, I'll give you 12 sales tips that only the best salespeople do on a daily basis. Tips ranging from cold calling to running effective appointments, handling objections, and creating urgency in your deals. You can get it 100% free at www.modernSalesTraining.com/free. That's modernSalesTraining.com/free. These 12 tips could be the difference between you having a good month or an incredible one. I hope to see you there.